Alright guys, welcome back to the shop this morning. Today we're going to get going back at the LS build for the 6-liter Canyon. Going to get the lifters put in, get the rest of the bottom end together and get a coat of paint on it. Alright guys, so as you can see the mess is still here. Basically I'm at the same point I was at the end of the last video over here this morning. I'm just trying to get this thing back together to the long block stage. The heads aren't back from Nova yet. So essentially what I'm going to go at today is I already got one lifter tray in, lubed up real good with the assembly lube. Some people recommend oiling up the lifters prior to installing them in the block. Some people say don't bother, just fire it up, it'll be all fine. It's a toss, it's hit or miss, it's up to you really. No, I don't really see there being harm either way. I chose just to lube them up real well, slide them into the bores. Lock them down. The camshaft is in there, so you could push the lifter out of the tray so that it's actually sitting tight against the camshaft. But aside from that, torque the bolts. They go to 18 foot-pounds, I think it is. Other than that, nothing special to the orientation of the way they go in. Just essentially there's like a little flat spot on both sides of the lifter that just goes into the lifter tray like so that the orientation of the roller is square to the camshaft. There is an oil pocket or galley right here. I don't think there's a matter to the orientation of those. I try to keep the orientation the same across the four of them, and I have them facing down the block, so they're on the bottom side of the block when they go in. So let's go time lapse. We'll get this together, get the oil pan cleaned up, get everything back on, get this thing a coat of paint. Okay, so got the lifter trays in, got the lifters in place. If you see the time lapse there, not much to it, not complicated. As I mentioned, the little dowel or oiling jacket suit downwards. I don't really think there's a matter to the orientation of those, but 22 foot-pounds is what I read online, 18 to 22. So we'll get those torqued. Both sides are in. If you see me with the push rod, basically I was just going with the push rod just to make sure that each lifter moves freely in the bore, and then it actually makes contact with the camshaft. If you take a look in there, probably hard to see, but you can see the tip of the lifter up against the edge of the camshaft. Basically what I do is just go through to make sure that all of those are oriented properly at the camshaft. Wouldn't want one of those to have fallen from the lifter or got a little sideways in the lifter when we were putting it in, and makes the roller run perpendicular or on an angle to the camshaft. So good, they're all in, they're all torqued. Let's go back to time lapse. We'll get the block cleaned up, get the oil pan on, get the front drive on, and go back from there. Got a fudge up. Motor is obviously an 03 motor, which has the weird different length head studs. We ordered one for an 04 plus motor, which has the shorter studs, so I'm gonna have to get the proper ones in. In the meantime, I'll at least just get the head gaskets and the heads laying on. I do have one bolt in this head just to keep it in place. That way we can kind of keep moving. I'll just have to go at the truck tomorrow to get it finished up. So when the new head studs come in, we can basically redo it all at once. Alright, well, basically there we have it. That's where it's going to stay for now. I said I got to get the proper length studs in. The ones that we got just don't fit. So, okay guys, so doing the trunnion upgrade kit on this, we did go with the BTR trunnion upgrade kit, part number ripped off the box. But basically it comes with all new bearings, the trunnion setup themselves, the C-clips, new bolts, and I'm not really sure what those washers are for, I'll have to look. And obviously the spacer washers for against the trunnion. So to install them, or remove them, sorry, basically what I did was rigged up a 21mm socket on a vise with a 13mm. Essentially all you do is take the rocker, there's a flat spot, you can see right there in the rocker. Basically just line that up like so, tighten the vise in, and what will happen is it'll push the trunnion out of the center of the housing and then relieve you with all the excess, and then basically you're left with an empty set of rockers. So we're going to go ahead and get the rest of these undone, and then we'll do a little video of installing the new pieces to go back together and go from there. So to install the new trunnion upgrade kit into the stock rocker, essentially on the cat there's a little rubber end in it. Basically there's some writing on the end of one side of the cat. That has to face out. Again, we're going to start off on the flat side of the rocker that has the little groove edge on it. And essentially we're just going to press this cap in. Just make it flush. I like to relieve the tension and just one more little tighten. Right, just flush, writing is out, leaving the cap in. Then what we're going to do is take our trunnion upgrade, basically slide the trunnion upgrade in until it goes through to push the needle bearings out, push the cap out with the trunnion. That way it helps keep the needle bearings in place as you work it. Then we're going to go back to this side, same deal, letters out, cap still in. You can apply just a little bit, it'll start to push the cap out. And then this is where basically we go back to the vise with our 21mm socket, using the flat spots of it. This time I have a 16mm socket that grabs just the edges of the new needle bearing. Just make sure the center housing still moves. Release the tension. The cap gets pushed out into the socket, and you now have an installed trunnion. The last thing to do is to get basically these little ends here. That's your end flat washer, and then you have your C-clip that goes on over top of that. Just use your ring plier properly, just open that up and get it placed. There is a little rubber edge in where the trunnion, or where the C-clip lays against the trunnion. I recommend just taking a flat screwdriver on the edge of the C-clip and just giving it a tap just to make sure that it's actually under the edge. Some of them are a little bit more tricky than others to kind of get installed, but otherwise we're good to go. We're going to time lapse get the rest of these back together. And then basically get the heads bolted down, torqued down. I did get the wrong studs for it, so I had to get those changed from Nova today. And then we'll be able to get the top end tied back in. Okay guys, so as you see from the time lapse, got all the rockers done, all the trunnion kits are installed. They are good to go. As I mentioned though, we are waiting on head studs. The box that I got, the ARP bolts that I got are the 3610s. What I actually needed was the 2410s, I think, maybe. I don't recall exactly what the number was, but essentially we are at a halt till we get those. So in the meantime, I'm gonna get the truck brought back in, get the wiring harness all cleaned back up inside it, kind of get a couple things cleaned back up in that regards, so that's good. And then we're gonna move on to the next project until these parts come in. So I appreciate it for watching the channel, guys. That's gonna be it for this video. Keep track for the next one that we started off basically right where we left off here. There will be another video as well of putting the engine back in the truck, getting it started up, and then loading that new cam tune on there just to get it to actually idle before we can go and do our partial throttle tuning, and then get into the wide open side, and then get into the nitrous. So again, appreciate you guys following. Don't forget to subscribe, follow Instagram and Facebook for the updates. Until then, chat, then drive safe. Can't say chat safe, makes no sense. See ya.